This afternoon, we welcome Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall to Chelsea, as today he signs a 5+ 1 year deal. But on top of that, my friends, we have some massive transfer reports to get through today, and I think you guys are going to enjoy these stories. So if you guys like today's video, you know what to do, man. Hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions, and I want to say shout out to the commenter. You asked me, what do I do with the rest of my Chelsea kits? I kind of use them around the house. I kind of use that at the gym, but I thought to myself, why don't I use them in videos more often? So, bro, you gave me some inspiration today. I thought I'd let you know that. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get straight into things. Let's start things off with the surprise story today. It comes from the Daily Mail and reports that we are monitoring the situation of James McAtee of Man City. Now, for the past 2 seasons, he has been on loan with Sheffield United, and I like to be fair to players. Listen, I think a player can be decent, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I want him to sign for us. I do think McAtee is a talent, close control, low center of gravity, he likes to attack the spaces, he attempts brave things, and he is a player that probably could be playing at a higher level. But you might be thinking to yourself, Nini, why are you always reporting these random stories? It's because I cover these stories literally for like a living. I've got databases of, clips and articles and news stories. And I find this report interesting because I think a month or 2 ago, it was first announced that we had been showing interest in James McAtee. And that was because Maresca tried to sign him for Leicester City. So the fact that this news has come out from nowhere again, I think it does confirm the fact that we may be monitoring the situation to see if McAtee is available and whether we decide is he someone we pursue in the end. I think with transfer stories, we have to remember this. I know a lot of times people feel like, oh, Nini, this guy will never come, it's impossible, it's unrealistic. You're right, but it doesn't detract from the fact that clubs have short lists of players, and until they get guarantees of no's from the player's side or from wages or etc., they will explore every single possibility and stress test the best possible players they can sign to the more lower value available players they could sign. So I think with our business over the past few windows, I think it explains this quite well. And listen, I can see why Maresca might be interested in working with McAtee, because when Man City won the PL2 title for the first time, Maresca was the coach at the time, and his team had Cole Palmer, Romeo Lavia, and James McAtee as the star players in that PL2 winning team. That generation was one of Man City's best, and they had been cultivating that generation over a few years. So they had big hopes and they got big successes with them. I think it's pretty interesting. It's not the first time I've mentioned this Man City-fication of Chelsea Football Club. Yes, I understand that City are the top dogs. We want to compete, we want to get better than them, but it seems like we are really inspired by their entire model, how they play, and we've recently signed staff members, we've signed coaches, we've signed their former players and their former youth stars, and it makes me think to myself, why do we not have the same value for our academies? Now listen, I'll be fair, you could argue, Nini, are our youth teams necessarily getting those top honours at the moment? When's the last time we won an FA Youth Cup, for example? I get that. But during the times when we did, I kept saying during those years, don't take these generations for granted. Don't fool yourself into thinking this is the standard that will win everything every single year, and it will continue to be like that forever. It's no surprise that most of those successful youth teams had players that play for the first team, contributed, are still with us, or have gone on to signing for big clubs across Europe. But the reality is that if families and players don't feel like they'll have a fair chance at getting a first team opportunity here, they will leave. And not only have we seen talents like Livramento, Mckay, and a few others go, we've also seen some talents at a youth level leave us as well. So I mention this point because if we continue to undermine our own academy, it could have those long-term ramifications in the future. And I also have to say this, we've invested a ton of big money on signing top youth talents, and the fact that some of these guys are already listed as players we could potentially sell this window or let go after only signing them like less than 18 months ago, I think it's a bit mad and it doesn't send the best message. So whatever we're trying to do by completely copying this Man City model from their footballs and getting their players. We need to relax a little bit, in my opinion, and that's because we could screw ourselves over from relying on our academy to bring in top money for us. Because if those young players leave at a young age, if our academy teams weaken, who could then be flipped in the future for 30 million, 40 million or 20 million pounds? We've been very fortunate to have talents of this level commanding fees like this, but let's not fool ourselves into thinking this is the norm, because it most definitely is not. And I think McAtee as a potential move, regardless of anything, I'm sorry, I don't think it sends the best message, in my opinion. But speaking of messages, today, my friends, it has been officially confirmed. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall has signed for Chelsea on a 5+1 year deal. And we learned that this move was pushed by Paul Winstonley and Lawrence Stewart, and Maresca gave his final seal of approval after working successfully with the player last season. Now, he is a Leicester City player through and through, coming through their academy, and it's only right that he gave a heartfelt goodbye message to the Leicester City fans, staff, and his former teammates. Obviously, it's a big move for Leicester. They're bringing in £30 million in pure profit, which can help them with their PSR concerns. So it was a classy farewell from the player, thanking the fans, his teammates, and feeling like he had to do it for the best of the club. But outside of that, you cared to know what he said after signing for us, right? And here's Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall's first words in his interview today. As he says, "It is amazing to be sitting here as a Chelsea player. This is a club people grew up watching and hoping to one day play for, so it's a privilege to be here. I'm really excited to get going and I can't wait to show everybody what I can do." As he said, last season was a positive year for me and I'm coming into this season feeling like a new player, full of confidence, full of motivation to get going, and I don't see a better fit than coming to Chelsea and testing myself against some top players and playing with top players. I'm in a great space and I'm really looking forward to getting going. I'm a box-to-box midfielder. I am somebody who likes to attack, drive at defenders and make things happen with goals and assists. I will also give 100% for the team defensively, and I am someone who overall can contribute in every aspect of the game. And of course, we learn his first words after reuniting in Enzo Maresca. As he says, "I think scoring more goals has been down to a combination of everything. I spoke to Enzo about adding more goals to my game and I thought of methods to do it, and I have managed to do that. It was nice to get into the double figure range. It's something I will try to do again this year. I'm an attacking player, trying to make a difference in the final third. I think Maresca is fantastic. He's topped. He changed the way Leicester wanted to play last season. We saw it worked. I fell in love with the way he wanted us to play, and I know a lot of the lads did as well. I'm confident coming here. I can implement his style, and with more time this team works under Maresca, the style will look more natural as time goes on." So my friends, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall is most definitely feeling that confidence, and I can understand why he is. I'm going to keep an open mind. Listen, I think the guy's a good player. I make this distinction all the time. Just because you're a good player doesn't mean I necessarily want you. I think we could have used Carnes and others there, but the reality is the club have signed him, and I'm one of those guys that likes to keep things objective, and I'm curious to see what he does. But if you guys want to get a deep understanding of my full objective thoughts, make sure you watch my reaction analysis video breaking his game down. So my friends, let's move on from Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall and let's move on to some pretty big reports coming out from Spain. This time it comes from Sport, and I have to say that I think Sport reports have always been pretty interesting, as they do provide more insight and context behind their stories, and I think that's always a valuable thing. But anyway, they report, alongside what other journalists like Damasio have confirmed, that we are expressing a desire again in Athletic Bilbao's Nico Williams. Let's break down the sports story first, because as they say, we are holding talks with the reps and agents of the player, but at the moment, Barcelona are our serious competitors for the signing of this winger. At the moment, Sport mentioned that we have no qualms in activating his €60 million release clause. We know that his release clause is around £51–55 million, but curiously, they also report that we are willing to double his existing salary, and he's currently earning around £170,000 a week, which is around €200,000 a week. And by doubling that, we'd be paying around $15 million a year, which is kind of crazy because it implies that he'd be earning over £300,000 a week. And currently, Raheem Sterling is by far our biggest earning player at the club, earning between 300,000 to 325,000 a week. Wow. I've got some question marks in my head. I'll be discussing them as I get through the reports first. But the reality is that at the moment, the player's head is turned towards Barcelona, and that's for good reason. Number one, he's linking up with one of his boys in Lamine Yamal. These guys are tearing things up at the Euros right now. The two best wingers in the tournament by far. And it's reported that himself and his team are asking for patience from our side, because our pushiness to try and force something through may actually work against us. And I think this confirms the fact that Williams wants to assess whether Barcelona can make an offer right now, and maybe if they can't because they're in a financial pickle, could the player decide maybe I'll wait for next season? Who knows? Do I feel personally nervous by this news? No, because Estevão Willian once was waiting for Barcelona, and look where he's at right now. Now, some other reports claim that we had hoped to maybe offer players in the deal to try and secure something. Again, the question marks are blowing off right now, because if you're a football fan, I think everyone in the world knows that Athletic Bilbao have a strict Basque-only policy. And I'll give you some football nerd stats. Since the inception of the Primavera division, La Liga, in 1929, Athletic Bilbao have never ever been relegated from top flight football, and they've only strictly adopted using a Basque-only policy. I think it's one of the best things in football, and from my own personal view, it does reiterate the fact that you don't have to spend hundreds of millions to compete. If you create and cultivate your own football heritage, your own football philosophies, that can prove more powerful over decades and decades and decades. But getting back to the big doozy around wages, I can't accept that, as we learned I think 2 months back from Jono Ben Jacobs and other reports. We are not looking to destroy our salary payroll. We aren't doing that. We're a lot more efficient and frugal now in terms of the wages we're offering. As we know, we only offer competitive wages. So this news tells me one thing: if we are serious about trying to sign Williams, it must imply we are willing to maybe possibly break the wage structure to try and attract the very best players. Because at the moment, Nico Williams is one of the most in-demand wingers in Europe. I think 8 goals, 19 assists last season for Athletic Bilbao. The guy is a ridiculous football player. We're seeing what he's doing at the Euros. He destroyed Italy. And I can imagine the team are imagining what he could do with Cucurella after seeing these two impress down that left-hand side for Spain. Personally, I don't have much confidence around this move, but I think it's an interesting story based on the fact that it has some very interesting possibilities and meanings. But my thing is, hypothetically, if somehow we activate the release clause, which I think we can do for anyone, I'm pretty confident on that because we can structure deals over times. It's one of my nerves around fulfilling the wage demands of players. We must show some flexibility in these roles. And I think that if Nico somehow signs, I think we look back on the Odyssey move falling through, and maybe it's start to reconsider the report suggesting that Odyssey's wage demands put us off, because you don't ever get put off by top players' wages that can really push the needle and push your club forward. So I guess we'll watch this space, because as we've known, Nico Williams has been a long-term target. Could we look to do something with the finances, and can we even persuade the player to sign for us? Time will tell. And naturally, we end things by discussing the latest updates surrounding Calafiori. Some nice insight coming out today. It's being confirmed. We have officially made a point of contact with the player and his intermediaries to assess the possibility and interest in a move to us. That is great news. Now, a report came from Italian journalist Badula suggesting that we offered an important salary already, but that seems to be pretty far-fetched. And Romano later confirmed and reiterated, not too long ago this afternoon, that we aren't looking to offer anyone crazy wages. So hearing that news again and going back to the previous report on Nico Williams, I don't have much confidence we're looking to satisfy any crazy wage demands, especially without Champions League football. Once we get CL football, I think we'll be happy to be more flexible in terms of our payroll. But in the meantime, I love to hope and think that Calafiori can be signed. That is a player that will really take Maresca's ideas to another level out from the back. And we have some good news today, because today Bologna's CEO has confirmed the fact that they're realistic. Ideally, they want to keep Calafiori, but if an important offer comes in, they won't be turning that down. How often are Bologna ever selling players for 30, 40, 50 million pounds? Let's not forget that. They owe around 40% back to FC Basel. So they will accept big money if it comes through, as that helps them out in the long term. After confirmation that Juventus are now out the race has opened up now, and there's a massive possibility that Calafiori's future may be in the Premier League. Now, we have competition from Arsenal, Liverpool, and a host of other teams, so it won't be easy, it won't be simple, but you'll have to think to yourself that Maresca is sweet talking him in Italian right now, telling him, you know what, this is the place you need to be. Your game will go up to the next level. Sign for this amazing project. With Bologna already showing interest in Cesare Casade, could we do something where we sign the player and then involve Casade in a separate deal? Fingers crossed. It makes the most sense on paper, my friends, and I'm sorry, I just have this, wet dreams thinking about a defense of Calafiori, Colwill, Fofana, and Reece James. And then you're telling me you got guys like Gusto and your Cucurella and your Benz and Badias in behind as reinforcement. I think that's mad. And we could have one of the most important backlines this generation. So my friends, that's all the big reports that dropped today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that like button, share your thoughts and opinions and all that good stuff. And my friends, on that note, I am Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. See you all soon.